There's been a lot of talk about climate change lately. You've heard people say that if we don't do something right now, it's too late. But if we all work together, we can still turn things around. So can we really stop climate change? Let's take a closer look at what scientists and experts say. To answer whether we can stop climate change, we need to start with what causes it in the first place. The answer may surprise you. You probably know that burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas releases harmful chemicals into the air, which has a negative effect on our health. But most people aren't aware that these activities also release massive amounts of gases into the atmosphere. And yes, we're talking about the gases that are responsible for climate change. These gases are called greenhouse gases because they have a similar effect to the glass panes of a greenhouse. They allow sunlight to pass through them and warm the planet's surface, but then they trap the heat from the Earth's surface, preventing it from escaping back out to space. And this keeps our planet habitable and not an ice cube. But there's a catch. Humans burning more fossil fuels means more greenhouse gases are released into the atmosphere, and when there are more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, more heat is trapped, and the planet gets warmer. This is the greenhouse effect, and it's happening at an alarming rate. According to NASA, the average global temperature in 2020 was about 1 degree higher than it was in 1900. And since 1971, we've been adding 4.5 Hiroshima atomic bombs of heat to the atmosphere every second. And 90% of this extra heat has gone into the oceans, causing rising sea levels and less snow and ice in the Arctic. If humans continue to burn fossil fuels at the current rate, scientists predict that global temperatures could be 2 to 4 degrees higher by the end of the century. And while that may not sound like much, even a small increase of just 1 or 2 degrees has led to major changes in weather patterns. For example, it's already caused more frequent and severe heat waves, droughts, and floods around the world. And the effects are felt disproportionately by developing countries who tend to have less resources to adapt to these changes. So with all this in mind, here's the good news. In October of 2021, nearly 200 nations met at the UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow to discuss ways to reduce emissions and keep the goals of the Paris Accord alive. Now, if you're not familiar with the Paris Accord, it's an agreement signed by almost every country in the world with the goal of limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels and to strive to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The Paris Accord also includes plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and to help developing countries deal with the effects of climate change that are already being felt today. One way we can achieve these goals is by shifting away from fossil fuels and toward renewable energy sources like solar and wind power. And there's plenty of reasons to go green. It'll help cut down on the amount of greenhouse gases we emit. It'll reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, and it'll create new jobs in the green tech industry. Plus, renewable energy is becoming more efficient and cost-effective every day. For example, the cost of solar power has dropped 89% between 2010 and 2020, and it's predicted to become even cheaper in the coming decades. But even if we switch to renewable energy, we still have to get rid of those excess greenhouse gases that are already in the atmosphere. To do this, we can try something called carbon capture, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's the process of capturing carbon dioxide before it's released into the atmosphere and then storing it somewhere where it won't escape, like deep underground in rock formations. One company called Climeworks has developed a way to suck carbon dioxide directly out of the air using machines that look like shipping containers. And once the carbon dioxide is sucked out of the air, it's possible to pump it into the ground. According to some estimates, these machines could remove up to 1 million tons of carbon dioxide per year. Another option would be to develop new technologies that pull carbon dioxide out of thin air. And it sounds far-fetched, but it's already being done. A company called Carbon Engineering has designed a device that uses chemicals to capture carbon dioxide from the air. The machine then converts the carbon dioxide into solid minerals, which are stored in underground caverns. The company claims that their technology could eventually remove 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year. Now let's talk about trees. Plants naturally absorb carbon dioxide as part of the process of making their food. So by planting more trees, we could theoretically suck more carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. And there's already a group of companies doing just that. Running entirely on renewable energy, they plant trees in places around the world where they are needed most and use drones and satellites to monitor their growth. Now that we've talked about some of the ways we can remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, let's take a look at some of the other things we can do to slow down or even reverse the damage that's already been done. One promising strategy is called solar radiation management, which involves brightening clouds to reflect more sunlight back into space. Another approach is to inject sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere, which would then form sulfuric acid clouds that reflect sunlight back into space. It's similar to what happens when a volcano erupts and throws sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. The sulfuric acid clouds formed by these eruptions can block out the sun and cause global temperatures to drop by several degrees for years or even decades. Now, it's important to point out that while these technologies are still in the research phase, there are some serious concerns about their safety and effectiveness. For example, critics argue that once you start tinkering with the climate system, you never know what unintended consequences may arise. There's also the risk that these technologies could be used as a cover for countries to continue polluting the atmosphere. Regardless of whether we use these techniques, it's clear that the future of our planet depends on the choices we make today. If we don't act now, we could face some serious problems in the near future. Here are just a few of the challenges we'll face if we fail to address climate change. Rising sea levels. As global temperatures rise, ice caps and glaciers melt at the poles. This adds more water to the oceans, causing sea levels to rise. This could cause coastal cities to flood and could displace millions of people who live in low-lying areas. More extreme weather. When the climate system is disrupted, it can lead to more extreme weather events. This includes things like hurricanes, floods, droughts, and wildfires. These disasters can cause widespread damage and can have devastating impacts on human health. Food scarcity. Changes in temperature and precipitation can disrupt the production of crops and livestock, leading to food shortages. This could cause prices to rise and could lead to widespread hunger and malnutrition. Displacement. As resources become scarcer and living conditions become more difficult, people may be forced to leave their homes and move elsewhere. This could lead to large-scale displacement and could cause conflicts over land and resources. While the future looks bleak if we don't act now, the good news is that there are things we can do today to make a difference. You might think that as an individual, your actions are too small to matter. But this isn't true. Every little bit helps. By recycling, reducing your carbon footprint, and making changes to your lifestyle, you're doing your part to protect the environment. And as more and more people make these changes, they inspire others to do the same. So can we really stop climate change? Yes, but it'll take a concerted effort from everyone. We'll need to transition to renewable energy sources, reduce our emissions, and find ways to remove excess carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. While the task ahead of us is daunting, it's not impossible. With determination and creativity, we can still go green and ensure a healthy planet for future generations. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out other videos on our channel, where we explore the latest scientific discoveries and technological advancements that are changing our world. Thank you for watching.